Okay, so I'll just kick us off. I heard that the recording has started. Thank you everyone for your patience. And this is what we're gonna do is just give a brief overview of what the Denver Workforce Services offers, the resources that we can offer for employers in order for the tap into the diverse workforce of Denver. So that goes into, here's the agenda, just the general workforce service employer support, the sort of the summary of what we do. Then we're going to go over some of the resources that we do through Connecting Colorado. And then Ellie is going to introduce a little bit of Eckerd Connect and the resources they go overview. And then we'll go into questions and comments. So as I mentioned before, Workforce Services is part of the Denver Economic Development and Opportunity Office, also called DEDO. And in general, the idea of the whole office is here you can see the vision and mission. And it's all about making sure that it's inclusive and sort of supporting the Denver economy as a whole. You know, the mission is delivering today with strategically investing for tomorrow. So again, it's all these resources that we can sort of support in order to build a more robust Denver economy. The employer services liaisons and our department, our main goal, and part of that goal is what you're part of today that you'll hear about, which is the sector partnerships. But our goal is in order for us to be that liaison between industry and job seekers through the support of the city and the resources we offer. So basically, we break it down into sort of these three pillars, which is connect, customize, and collaborate. Connect is making sure that we have an open communication with both Connecting Colorado, Workforce Wednesday. I don't know if you, some of you received that, but it's just a newsletter, a weekly newsletter that gives updates on everything, job seekers, industries, apprenticeships, and all the information that is useful for employers to be able to tap into the job seekers. And then there's also networking events that happen at the same time. Then the customize is where we can offer resources to employers who want to understand and work through some of the pain points of hiring job seekers. So that's where we can sit down with certain employers, develop, talk about the industry pathways, entry points, support them with recruiting events, hiring fairs. All that is designed specifically to be able to tap into the diverse workforce that is available in Denver. And then collaborate is sort of the third tier of this, where we can sort of talk about more industry sector partnerships, clusters, and have roundtables. And as you all know and are part of, what we're participating in today is part of the sector partnership. So the sector partnerships will go a little bit more into detail, but those are sort of industry-led, and it's sort of talking about the ecosystem within that industry to understand the challenges that we're facing. As I mentioned, we are 3 employer services liaisons, and each one of them are broken down into clusters. These are the clusters that we have. I'm in charge of the PAIR, which is professional services, which under that's why I'm participating in the communication. There's also education, aviation, and retail. And 2 of my colleagues do the other industry clusters, which are more PACE and STEM. The STEM one, even though it's science, healthcare, technology, engineering, and math, right now it's more healthcare and IT focused. And all of these have these different network opportunities and employment pipeline opportunities and training and employment. When we talk about customizing the resources that we can support to employers, we talk about the job postings. There's also the MC labor market information. I know some companies do have access to that, but if someone doesn't have access to that, we can sort of talk through what is sort of the baseline industry salary for a certain industry. We can also support them in letting know what the growth looks like within Denver, and then help industry tap into the programs that are available. Again, all these resources, all these services that DIDO offers us through the workforce services are free of cost, which is important to realize that there is no cost at all because that is front-loaded by the taxpayers. As I mentioned, there's all those job postings and marketing that we can support with, and we have access to the statewide database of job seekers. And at the same time, through the workforce centers, we can have the job seekers come in and they get support with the finding that. So we're sort of that in-between point between the job seekers and the employers. One of the things that has been very successful throughout the pandemic is that marketing through the Workforce Wednesdays, because it's sort of a virtual listings of what we hear on the pulse of Denver, what jobs are available, sort of what they're in the different categories. And again, as I mentioned, this is the labor market information that helps a lot of the employers sort of decide if they're competitive, where they have to sort of work through the specific areas, looking at the average salary, understanding the supply, the demand of the job in each area. So that can be broken down specifically by industry sector or by area, or anything that the employer might need. And that helps them work through some of those pain points, if we're there being competitive in that area, in that job market. And then, as many of you heard, we also through the Workforce Wednesdays, we also do a lot of announcements on the recruitment events. And what we do, we work with employers to either help them design an event or also to make them part of these larger recruitment events. At the same time, last week we had some recruitment events and job fairs that were youth focused. So we also have that youth focused job fairs. As I mentioned, the sector partnership is an industry-specific regional partnership led by business. It's important for us to realize that it's led by business because that's where we need that industry focus in order to see where the pain points are and what is the specific needs of each industry. This is a statewide initiative, and we're in Denver, it's the Sector 3. And under that, the ones that are sort of convened by Denver Workforce Services are the construction, the retail sector partnership, and then there is the other ones that are worked in partnership with all the different regions. But statewide, there are approximately 28 sector partnerships, and some of them are active, others have been in the lull because of COVID, but many of them are starting to be reactivated. For example, I think the IT one has started reactivating in the Denver area, as well as the construction one has been active, but as well as the retail one is starting to be more active. And this is another thing that is, all of this is for us to sort of support all the job seekers. And then there's a subsidized training program. As funding is available, we can reimburse, but I'll let Ellie, she's the expert on that. So I'll pass it on to Ellie so that she can talk about this.
Okay, awesome. If you want to hit the next slide, I can start us off.
Oops, sorry.
No, you're good. Great job, Dan. Hello, everyone. So our on-the-job training program is really our best kept secret. A lot of people do not know about it, and I am more than happy to share all of our information today. So what it is and what it looks like. So it's a reimbursement program, and we reimburse employers who are hiring new talent. So we come in and we reimburse employers 50% of wages for their new employee while they're getting onboarded and really just completing those first few months on the job. It's typically the first 3 to 4 months on that job. And what we're currently offering is up to $6,000 in subsidy. So what's really great about this is we actually don't put a cap on the amount of participants that can go through the program. So if you have multiple, that's $6,000 per participant. We just have to make sure we have the funding available for them because it is a first serve first come, first serve opportunity. And the reason we do it, it serves as an incentive to employers who are hiring new talent. They might not have every single job skill mastered. They may be 80 or 90% there, but they just need the little extra push, little extra training to really meet or even exceed the industry standard. So during the OJT, we do ask that the business does help the individual develop both the skills and work ethics needed for the position as well as the place of business. And upon successful completion of training, the business does agree to retain the individual in the position. So in that sentence, the key word here is successful. If it is unsuccessful, you don't owe any of the subsidy back. And hopefully we can find someone that is a better fit for the position while also helping that candidate find something that's a better fit for them. So you may have a candidate in mind for an open position, or I can even help you find one from the vast pool of clients we work with. So I'm the workforce development specialist. I work with our employer partners, but our workforce team is comprised of both our management and our career coaches. And our career coaches are the ones that are working hand in hand with what we call our candidates or clients. Next slide. So here are some of the qualifications that an employer would need to be involved in the program. A lot of employers typically ask, is there an application process? How do I get involved? Is this going to take me months and months? Like, I'm excited about it, but I don't know where to start. So we don't have an application process. We try to make it as simple as possible to be a part of the program, just because we want to expand our network and be able to help our clients out as much as possible and give them as many opportunities as possible. So here are listed those requirements that we need. So we are looking for a permanent full-time position. So we're looking at a minimum of 32 hours a week, up to 40 hours a week. And that's a standard work week. So we don't cover, PTO, sick days, holidays, overtime. It's just that standard 40 hours. And what we're looking for is a company that has established operations in Colorado for at least 120 days. This next one, we've been a little more lenient on it just because of the climate with COVID. But one of our past requirements was no layoffs within the past 60 days. And then we do look for wages to be paid at the current industry standard for the position, the agreement to retain the employee following successful completion of the training. So there is a contract for the OJT program, but nowhere in it are you contractually obligated to keep that employee employed, because we understand it is a risk to take on someone new, and it's a risk for them to start with a new company. So if it doesn't work out, it simply doesn't work out. And then our last qualification is the program cannot cover 100% of employees on staff. Next slide. Thank you. So the next step, so following this meeting, if you are interested in being a part of the program, of course, reach out to me. I would love to speak to you further about it. But the next steps after that meeting are to provide me with a job description with its related details. So to get people excited about the program and to get people excited about the job opportunity, we love to see, what are the starting wages? I know oftentimes it's dependent on experience, but if you could give us just say, a starting and, the top as far as wages go, and then what the hours look like, and, an estimated start date as well. And then what I do is I take that job description, or if you have multiple job descriptions, I send it to our workforce team, so the career coaches, and they go through their caseloads and see if anyone is interested in the position. And then what we'll do is any resumes of qualified candidates, we'll send it directly to the employer. So we're not a staffing agency, we're a nonprofit. We will have all their contact information on there, and you are completely allowed to reach out to them and ultimately, decide who you want to interview and who you want to hire for the program. So on our end, the candidates are already enrolled in the Work Innovation and Opportunity Program. So if you hear me refer to WIOA, that's what it stands for. So if they are someone that you have found on your end and you're interested in putting them through the program, we'll make sure they're eligible. That process is usually 24-hour turnaround, so it's very quick. And once that candidate is eligible, you'd like to hire them on, the WIOA enrollment process begins. Next slide. Okay, so this is a visual I made. This really shows the process step by step. This is obviously a very brief overview, but this is kind of what it looks like. So the first question that we do ask is the participant already enrolled in WIOA as an active participant? So if they are, we just make sure that they understand the job description, they're okay with it, they're excited, and they know when that start date is. If they are someone that an employer has found on their end, so that is a reverse referral, the employer will explain the partnership between their company and then Denver Workforce. So then following that, a career coach will reach out to the participant just to explain the program step by step, answer any questions, and then they will set up an appointment for enrollment and they will get enrolled in WIOA program. I'll go into that a little bit further on the next slides, but just keep in mind from the start date, from the hire date to the start date, we will ask for 2 weeks. Sometimes it doesn't work with certain, candidates' timelines. Sometimes it does. So we just have to keep in mind that we need those 2 weeks. It is federal funding, so we have to jump through a couple of hoops on our end, get things, good to go. So the next step with that is obtaining the OJT documents. So that includes current W-9, proof of unemployment insurance, and then proof of workers' compensation. And the next step following that is the OJT contract. So that is something that I actually fill out about 90% of, and we derive that information from those documents that we've obtained. And then I go over it with someone in HR or a supervisor, and we'll just make sure everything looks accurate, that they understand everything. And then I send it over for e-signature. So very simple process. I can do it in person. I can also do it virtually. We just try to be as much of a chameleon in this environment as we can. And then really the next step is just making sure everything is completed before the employee walks in for their first day of work. So what the candidate is doing on their end is they're working with that career coach it's honestly just an elevated new hire process. So getting involved in WIOA is just, providing personal information and stuff like that. So the career coach walks them through everything. And then I am there to help out the employer with anything, they need help with, but it's a pretty simple process. There's just a couple of steps involved. Next slide. So there's a lot of really great benefits for employers. Obviously, the first thing we see is like the dollar signs, but on average, companies will save up to about $6,000 per new employee through our program. So like I said, that's what we're currently offering now. These funds can fluctuate just with time because it is first come, first serve, but this is what we're offering at this moment. So companies can actually spend anywhere from $8,000 to $11,000 hiring on a new employee. I know that sounds nuts, but it is with, the resource, the time spent, maybe you're providing them with, tools or anything like that to just what they need for work. So you can spend a lot of money and we're really there to assist you with the hefty cost. And then we also have our career coaches, and they are there to really provide that back-end counseling as well as workforce development. So we are trying to motivate and assist our clients in being, working up to their potential and being the best employee that they can be. And then myself, I am here to support the employer just to make sure everything's going smoothly on their end and provide them with that support as well. Next slide. So I mentioned before reverse referrals, and what that means is if an employer finds a candidate on their end that they would like to go, through the program, we can enroll them into our WIOA program. So again, WIOA is a federal program. Upon agreeing to it, the customer does need to be aware it's a program where they're assigned a career coach, and we do need active participation. But typically when they are on the job, we'll reach out on a bi-weekly basis via email. We don't want to bug them during work hours or distract them from what they're doing. So we'll reach out via email. The phone lines are open as well if they want to give us a call and kind of let us know how they're doing, maybe brag about how they're doing, maybe complain to us, whatever they need, we are here for that. Next slide. Okay, so reverse referral, we kind of just touched on that, but this is more like the meat and potatoes of that. So what that looks like is explaining the partnership between your company as well as Denver Workforce. Just make sure that they know what they're getting into briefly, and then let them know that we will reach out and go into it in further detail. You'll send me their contact information so I have their resume on file, and then we'll get the participant registered on Connecting Colorado as a job seeker. So I believe Dan did mention Connecting Colorado. It's a great resource for job seekers and employers alike. And we actually use it on the back end for kind of like staff uses it for, recording around the job training programs, recording the people that we work with. So it's a very important tool that we use every day. And then we'll reach out via phone or email to explain the program further. And then the career coach will enroll them in the WIOA program. And like I said, could take up to 2 weeks. So just keep that in mind with your timeline. Next slide. Okay, so you're probably wondering, once the OJT begins, is there anything that I need to do as an employer or as the client? So once they've gotten hired on, to ensure success on both ends, we do require monthly evaluations during the OJT process. So what that is, it's a pre-evaluation, a mid-evaluation, and a final evaluation. This is a great way to sit down with that employee, track their progress, talk about what they're doing well, talk about what they need to work on. And the great thing about it is you don't actually have to remember to do it. I will bother you to get it done. So that way we can make sure it's done and you don't have to worry about it. And we do ask for ongoing communication with the employer as well as the participant, just to make sure everything is going as well as possible on both ends. If we need to step in, we are more than happy to. And really that good communication is what nurtures a long-term successful partnership, because, if it works out really great for one participant, we would love to, put more and more through and really assist you with that. And what we also ask for is successful completion of training that the business does agree to retain the individual in the position, especially since you're spending so much time and effort training them. If it's a good fit, we ask for a long-term employment. All right, next slide. Okay, I believe this is you, Dan.
Thank you, Ellie. So I just wanted to touch base, since it's sort of the DEI initiative. I wanted to touch base that also Denver Workforce Services, it's sort of it's a three-stool type of comparison. One of it is the employer services, what we do with the employer service. The other one is the workforce services, more like job seeker based. And then there's another component, which is the programs initiatives. So there's one is the careers for adults 50 plus. And here you can read about sort of the untapped talent of the older workers of 50 plus looking for a job. And there's a lot of people that are sort of rethinking their retirement as 50 plus. So there's a lot of, we have one person that is in charge of that, Teresa, and if there is interest, she could come and present basically on that initiative. And then there's a New Americans Integration Network, which we have another person that sort of focuses all that with the New Americans and making sure that what are the benefits of attracting and hiring New Americans, and the support, all the support that is required to help them sort of find that job and be successful in that job. So again, this is another thing that DIDO does. And if you're interested in, we could also have a presentation, have the experts come and present on that. That being said, if anyone is interested in hearing more or knows of any employers that want that support, here's my contact information. And for the on-the-job training, here's Ellie's contact information. And I'm sure we could send that to you, or Calvin has that and he can send that information to you. Well, thank you. And if you have any questions, I'll stop sharing now, and then we could sort of answer any questions anyone has.
Any questions for Dan or Ellie?
I have a question. Hey everyone, I have a question. And thank you very much. I thought it's really interesting to hear. I would love to kind of hear like maybe an example of what it's like when an employee is going through this on-the-job training. I mean, just in terms of like, what are the kinds of skills that you're finding, end up being the biggest help that, that the OJT provides?
Good question. So as far as skills, like that it helps provide. So we work with all industries, and we really, with the employers, what's great about this is it does incentivize them to, give them a little extra training. We found it to be really helpful when the businesses, put like a really strict schedule with, what they'll be teaching them and where they would like them to be at. And that's actually a part of the contract that we put out. And it's a great way for them to reference it back. So they'll put like a list of skills on there, and then they'll say, this is where the employee is at right now. This is what we're going to do to help them get there. So some of it is hands-on training. Some of it is classroom based. And what's great about it too is it gives people the opportunity to kind of step into an industry that maybe they're not fully qualified for, switch industries, etc. Mm-hmm. Did that answer your question?
I think so. The one thing I kind of wonder is like, because so much of the work that we need where we're trying to find qualified employees is like very on the job, like, hey, we need to make sure that you know how to use InDesign. Mm-hmm. Is it a case of where like the funding that comes in, does it help them get like an InDesign license so that way they can learn it more? How does that funding part of it work?
So a lot of our candidates are at least 90% there. So oftentimes they could, have that InDesign background as well. And what we do also offer is supportive services. So for maybe like the marketing and media sectors, something that we can look into is providing them with extra training and extra dollars to achieve, InDesign certification, Microsoft certification, etc. And we also do training programs as well outside of the on-the-job training. It's called an ITA. And what that is putting them through strictly training. It's not an earn and learn like the on-the-job training is.
So, okay, great. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Good question. Any other questions?
I actually just have a quick question, and I apologize if this was addressed in the meeting. I was kind of taking notes. How does that intersect with what the Open Media Foundation's career engine thing? Do the two programs work together? Would you engage with one and then that would engage with the other? Is there a crossover?
Yes, we do. When we're posting positions for our clients, we always reach out to Ellie and EquiConnect and send the job openings to them as well. Okay. Along with the variety of other places we're sending it to. So that's kind of our biggest part of the partnership. With the resources they offer through that, I think it's an incentive for employees to look that way, most definitely.
Yeah, it definitely increases like the network size, just because they're sending it over to me, I'm sending it to our workforce team, and then they're sharing it with their participants. So it's just really increasing like word of mouth and getting those jobs out further and further.
I got a follow-up question on that, actually. So yeah, we do send all of the applicants through to them in case they have someone in their caseload that fits. But we've never actually, all the people that have been hired through the OJT program, through Eckert and through their predecessor, have been people that were on your existing work caseload. So I'm curious what the example you gave about an employer could send a candidate to you, what kind of qualifications or demographics or info you're looking for from those kinds of candidates, because I don't think we've never done it that way where we sent a candidate to you. We've only ever hired people through your
looked for candidates.
Yeah, definitely. Good question. So for us to work with on like a reverse referral case, we do it all the time just because we want to make it as inclusive and accessible as possible. So what the employer does is they send over the resume, so it has contact information. They get that employee on Connecting Colorado. That way we can reach out, see if they are eligible for that funding, and kind of the demographics are, are they 18 or older? Can they work in the United States? And then are they making a certain amount of money or lower, which deems them a part of the underserved community? So now with the crazy cost of living in Denver, what we're looking at price-wise is if they're in a position that is making $27 or less, they are a part of the underserved community and they are eligible for our WIOA funding, which makes them able to go through our on-the-job training program.
And that's the amount that they would be making in the position we're hiring them for, or the amount they've made in the past?
The amount they're currently making. So if they are employed, if they're making $27 or under, and kind of more of like a dead end position, and then, or if they're unemployed. So those are two kind of factors that we can work with.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ellie. Any other questions? I'm gonna let you guys go here soon, but
a really quick one. I'm just super curious about, you know, all these great things that you're talking about. And I'm just thinking, for sure, you have the same thing here in Boulder, you know, with workforce. So I'm just like, my mind is going crazy. I'm thinking, maybe I can tap into them and see, you know, how students that are, you know, CMCI from the University of Colorado students that are wanting to work with us can get some money so that they can, you know, help us out. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's great for college students to utilize, because I know when I did, you know, graduate, I had an advertising and journalism degree, and you don't know what route to go in. And especially with all that education and having no experience. So this is a great program for, you know, college students that are right, you know, at that graduation point, but we're really just trying to serve, you know, as many people as we can.
Anybody else?
There's a question in the chat about sharing the PowerPoint.
Oh, there's a question in the chat about sharing your PowerPoint, your presentation. I mean, we have this recording, which we'll send to everybody, but would you mind sharing that too, the actual presentation? Is that something you can do?
No, not at all. We don't mind.
We have their contact info, and we'll just send out a link to that as well as this recording.
Perfect. Yeah, because that way they can see contact info.
And I put the contact info in the chat. So
in the chat too. You can always reach out to me or Jen as well if you have more questions after this. Yeah, we're almost done here. I want to say thank you. If everybody will say thank you to Ellie and Dan for taking the time to do this. And again, one of the things we want to do with this inclusiveness meeting is share resources in our pool of resources, but make people aware of it too. I know Carol said earlier about the Maynard Institute that we're taking that training, the fault line training, blind spots. I mean, there's so much I've learned. So I think it's imperative that we all share and not try to just do it on our own. I think it's a lot easier. And whether it's this or DEI initiatives that we're all trying to bring to the table, that's what we need. That's why we need your guys' input. I mean, we have amazing partners and a lot of resources, just like Ellie and Dan here with Denver Workforce, but we have other ones that we would like to get into play. We'll definitely have these guys back as well. So feel free to drop us a line about upcoming meetings, what you want to talk about, what you want to put on the table. Yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Tony, you want to add anything?
No, thank you very much. Yeah, like Calvin said, if there's anything people specifically want to learn in future inclusiveness committee meetings, please let us know. And otherwise, we'll be bringing on other valuable partners that are part of the Career Engine program and other efforts that we're undertaking at Open Media. So thank you, Elaine and Daniel, so much for your presentations and for your partnership. And like you said, if you are interested, you're looking for help with hiring, please reach out to Calvin at open.media, and we can provide the free hiring service, which includes sending all of your information to Daniel and Elaine.
Yes. Okay, so want to add?
I guess I have one question that came to mind. Is I work with the Workforce Larimer County, another media organization, and there, in terms of fleshing out other aspects of DEI, we worked with physically handicapped and mentally handicapped folks that came through the workforce program and then were able to work in our business. Is that a component of the Denver program as well?
Yes, definitely. My colleague Kevin is our disability coordinator. So he is definitely trying to increase the awareness and visibility for, those that are disabled and getting them back into the workplace, into safe environments.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Thank you, Carol. All right, everybody. Well, we appreciate you taking the time. I know a lot of you are really busy, so we do appreciate you giving them your full attention. Thank you again, Ellie and Dan.
Thanks for having us. It was a pleasure.
It's awesome. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank
you. Bye, guys. Have a good one.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Yes, thank you.